Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to be talking about guitar tone. I did a poll the other day and I asked the community, I asked our subscribers, hey, we both know that tone comes from the gear and it comes from the people playing the gear, the hands, right? We know that. That's nothing new. It's not one or the other. It's not that black and white. It is both, right? But what contributes more? Is it the gear or is it the hands? And I kind of wanted to do a video talking about that because I think it's a fun conversation, and I think it's a conversation people like having, right? And just to kind of show you the gear that I mainly play when I do these videos, I have my Silver Sky SE PRS, and I have the Line 6 Pod HD 500X, and it goes into my 2-channel Focusrite 2i2, going into Logic Pro, sometimes Pro Tools. And that's basically all I have. I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment in San Diego. That's all I can do. I don't have a full functioning studio. And so when it comes to tone, is it the gear more than the hands? And if I were to ask you a question, or if I were to ask someone who's new at guitar, hey, if I gave you the best gear in the world, if I gave you John Mayer's, the exact setup of John Mayer, or the exact setup Stevie Ray Vaughan had, or the exact setup Keith Richards or Gary Clark Jr., whoever's your influence, if I gave you all their gear, could you sound like them? And I think the answer is kind of yes. You can technically somewhat sound like them if you're given all of their gear with their settings. The other half of that is you may not sound like them at all, even with all of their gear, because that's when the hands come in, right? And so I think a better way to kind of explain the hands aspect, I never really liked the idea of saying it's gear and hands. Well, what does that mean? What does hands mean? No one's hand is more magical than another person's hand. I think the better way to go about this conversation is hands is also an extension of the person's knowledge, right? Stevie Ray Vaughan's knowledge or Hendrix's knowledge of the gear that they had, right? So when you listen to their albums or any of their songs, they're not going to have the same settings on their pedal board. They're not going to have the same settings on their guitar. They're not always going to be in the neck pickup. They're not always going to be on one pickup all the time. They're going to be utilizing different aspects of their gear. And so that's knowing how to use your gear. And I think that's the extension part of the hands, is the knowledge of knowing how to use that gear, right? If you have a 2-rock amp in a Silver Sky core model, but you have no idea what the parameters on that 2-rock amp mean, you're going to plug in some very expensive gear and you're not going to sound that great, or you're not going to sound like John Mayer would, or whoever you're trying to mimic, because they have their settings dialed in for their songs, and then they have these settings that their guitar techs and their roadies have, for when they do live tours, they know and can recall these settings, right? When it comes to the digital realm, it's a little bit easier in the digital realm than analog, because you can save presets, right? You can kind of build a tone that sounds like Mayer or Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan, and then you can kind of save that as a patch. And that's, what the Line 6 Helix or the Pod or whatever that you're using has the capability of doing, which is pretty cool. But I think going about utilizing the gear in a way that, knowing how to use the gear and how to tweak the knobs and things like that. Maybe not always playing your guitar with the tone knob maxed out on whatever pickup you're on, but maybe rolling some of that tone off, right? That everything contributes to that. Playing with your fingers like Mark Knopfler did versus a pick, right? Right? Versus it all contributes. Playing with your fingers is going to kind of give you a muted, muffly tone, versus a pick, it's just going to give you a crisper, cleaner, more attack sometimes. Knowing dynamics also helps contribute to your tone. We've been doing a series in which I watch videos from Tomo Fujita, and he goes over some basic guitar stuff. I'm not professionally taught. I'm more of a self-taught guitarist, and so the reason for that series with Tomo Fujita, if you see me upload those videos, is for me to grasp techniques from a Berklee teacher that I should be applying in my practice. And I think that's a good way to kind of show my flaws and how to work on things. And one thing he is big on is dynamics. Dynamics can help shape your tone and help you be a better guitar player. And so sometimes that means with these thicker strings, plucking lighter than these thinner strings. You don't have to really dig into the top string. If you're going to play something and you want to be dynamic and craft a tone, maybe play a little bit softer on the heavier strings and then go in on the thinner strings, right? That all kind of contributes to your overall tone. And so when we talk about hands, I think knowledge has to be at the forefront of what that means. You can have nice microphones, you can have a nice guitar, but if you don't know how to utilize the gear and the signal flow and what the parameters mean and how to turn the knobs and all that, then you're just a guy with really expensive gear in hopes of sounding like somebody. There's a quote that John Mayer said in video, and I can't remember which one it is, but he said you develop your sound. Essentially what he says is you develop your sound when you fail to sound like the person you were trying to sound like, something along those lines. And so I think that's also another thing we need to realize is that Stevie Ray Vaughan was Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Jimi Hendrix was Jimi Hendrix, Keith Richards is Keith Richards, and so on and so forth. There's nothing wrong with playing a song like them or playing their music and doing covers and sounding exactly like that. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's only going to be that one. And when you are doing a cover of a song, or if I'm doing a cover of the song, we can try our best to be as close as possible to the tone and to the song and try to stay true to the song. But I think at the end of the day, the way that Stevie played, the way that Hendrix played, the way that Mayer plays, and Gary Clark and so many others, the way that they play isn't necessarily the same as you play. They may have more attack in certain areas, or they may do certain things different than you do, and that all kind of contributes to the tone. And that's why someone's honking their horn outside my apartment, and it's very annoying. And that's why I think whenever you watch cover videos, you'll always find great covers, but it's never like the original. There's always that aspect of that person's playing, right? And I think that's something that we just need to realize is like we can get as close as possible. But I don't think we'll ever be able to 100% replicate the tonality a lot of times, because it does come down to the person playing and their knowledge of the gear and how to utilize that gear, as well as other things. Speaking of gear, right? You may have a Silver Sky core model, but that doesn't mean it's the same exact one John Mayer's playing. He may have the Silver Sky core model. He may have his decked out with some, stuff he's worked on with Paul Reed Smith for the last several years. His guitar may be totally different than yours. And all that contributes, right? And so I think that pretty much sums up the video. It doesn't have to be too dramatic, too long. I just want to kind of go over my thoughts on that conversation and how I think we can kind of go about that conversation. So if you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed content like this, go ahead and hit like. Look, statistics show that most of you that view don't actually subscribe. So if you are viewing the channel, why not just subscribe? And you can continue to watch my channel without the stalking aspect. But all kidding aside, thanks for checking out the video. Thank you for your support. And I did close out the giveaway. We did a giveaway a while back, right after the New Year's. And I want to say the next milestone is going to be about 5,000 subscribers. And that's when we'll do the next giveaway. So if you want to stick around to see what that giveaway entails, when we hit 5,000 subscribers, then I suggest subscribing, and you could be the lucky winner in our next giveaway. All right, guys, take care and have a good day.